Hello and welcome to this special series called the Business Today Accenture Leadership Dialogues. I'm here at a state-of-the-art facility in Dapara, in Silvassa, an HUL factory, which is award-winning, some of the coolest tech that we've seen on display here in the heart of the Dapara factory. And I'm joined by two very special guests to talk about everything that's happening here in the heart of this particular innovation hub. I'm joined by Akhilesh Yadav of HUL and of course Manish Gupta of Accenture, someone who understands the supply chain really well and of course someone who understands the digital transformation journey of so many top brands in the country. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Aayush, and very warm welcome to this factory.
An award-winning factory at that as well. We'll touch upon some of these things, but Akhilesh, I want to start off by asking you, in an age of digital transformation, so much is happening. We're talking about connected ecosystems. The customer has evolved so much as well, and digital really is the key. When we're talking about reinventing the supply chain, what are the key steps involved in really recalibrating that focus, especially at Unilever?
No, thanks for that question, Aayush, and let me first start by saying that digital transformation has to be a key enabler if you're really wanting to meet the growing consumer needs, the evolving disruption which is happening in the various verticals of the marketplace. And let me start by giving some example of what HUL has done in the last few years. So the last 1 decade of HUL is what we have been on a journey which is called as Reimagine HUL journey. It's a journey of creating an intelligent enterprise. And in these last 10 years, what we have done is we have doubled our turnover. It has gone up from close to about 25,000 crore company to a 58,000 crore company now. We have added 1,000 basis point of margin improvement. We have done phenomenally well in terms of sustainability. And all that has happened because of one program which we have running since 2015, which is called as Reimagine HUL. Now, Reimagine HUL has is basically a program which is converting the linear supply chain or linear way of operating an organization to an interconnected web of non-linear ways of operating. Now, in Reimagine HUL, we talk about 3 ecosystems which are pivoted at the center by a concept called as data, technology, and analytics. And the 3 ecosystems which are surrounding it are the consumer ecosystem, customer ecosystem, and operation ecosystem. Now let me allude to what consumer ecosystem is all about. It's about understanding what are the trends happening in the marketplace, what innovations are going to be liked by consumers, how to do digital marketing and things like that. Customer ecosystem is all about capturing the demand, fulfilling the demand, and generating the demand. And operation ecosystem, which is run by supply chain, is all about how we can do all this in a very agile, resilient, cost-effective, and future-fit manner, right? And all this is underpinned through a strong partnership of various internal and external partners that we operate with, and certainly enabled by people which are upskilled and future-fit. Yeah, so that's how the entire Reimagine HUL journey towards intelligent enterprises.
It's interesting, you're talking about intelligent enterprises and several ecosystems, and you mentioned partners. And that's where, Manish, I'd like for you to step in, because you've seen the digital transformation journey of so many top companies around the world, which is imperative now in 2023. Digital transformation has been the talk of the town in the technology world for the past few years. Where exactly does Accenture come in with a state-of-the-art facility like this, and I'm sure there's many more across the country winning awards like the Lighthouse Award? Where does Accenture come in and really increase that efficiency?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. And as Akhilesh mentioned, let me touch upon the partnership. Accenture is privileged to have over a 2-decade long partnership with Unilever, with HUL and Unilever, and to work with the best of minds in the industry, because HUL and Unilever is the epitome of what the industry, consumer goods industry and the wider industry look after. We have conquered and driven multiple large-scale complex transformation, and one of the recent example which we have done is partnering with Unilever globally, including HUL, to move and to make them to cloud-first organization. And I have been told that it is the largest in the consumer goods industry and also the fastest in terms of, because in this world, it is not about in reinventing the entire enterprise, but it's also doing in a very compressed manner. So now with this transformation, HUL and Unilever can unleash the power of cloud and achieve greater heights on this. There was earlier very predictive supply chain in the industry, right? Everything was linear, as he mentioned, but that prediction is gone, right? There's a complexity of channels, complexity of SKUs, complexity of contract manufacturers, and based on our research, it has added 800 basis points of cost to cost of goods sold. And over and above that, there's inflation. So there's already a stress which is there, and now we need to recover that, and we cannot continue to pass on that prices to the consumer. Right? So all that need to be unleashed with the power of digital and data, right? I mean, essentially, what we are also saying these days that it has to get to micro precision, which means that the entire supply chain is powered by data, and we are driving insights, and what we saw today as a part of the Lighthouse factory. And just on digital, right? I mean, the way we look at it, because if it has to be completely automated, then the entire touch points of the supply chain needs to be integrated. And the way we call it is a T model, right? So this particular part of T is automating the individual sub-functions of supply chain, which is basically source, plan, make, deliver. Right? Actually automating every aspects of it. HUL has done quite a bit around that. And I could give some examples around that, like we are talking about demand sensing for a very long time, demand forecasting, because the consumer demand is changing. But how can we bring the same level of sensing capability on the supply side, right? Not just with the suppliers, but the suppliers, right? In terms of, but with data. So we're using something called federated AI, which basically the technology is able to take the data from the contract manufacturer systems and able to run the algorithms without actually have to share the data. So that's the power of digital, that's the part of T. And this particular thing, and I will talk about a little bit more later, but it's basically bringing the optimization into the end-to-end supply chain, which is basically not looking at individual touch points. So every individual supply chain function would have their own KPIs. The transporter will say that whether my truck is up to the fill, right? Whether I'm planning it appropriately, but who is looking at ensuring that the customer gets the record at the point of time. So we are leveraging a lot of technologies in order to do that. So completing the T around that.
Interesting points, Manish. Now, what Manish is saying, it cuts across the board. And that truly is a holistic digital transformation, so to speak. But when you're talking about some of the ecosystems you spoke about, and some of the technologies that Manish alluded to, I find it fascinating. There's AI involved, there's machine learning, so much data at the heart of all of it. More importantly, when I was doing a tour of the factory, I found it fascinating that right here in Silvassa, you guys are using digital twins. So the digital transformation journey is really complete, and it's just sort of a lovely hybrid model where we can see people at work as well, and then technology enhancing the whole process. So as a tech geek, I found it fascinating. But where does that digital transformation piece come in, Akhilesh, when we're talking about the operations ecosystem? How do we increase value over there?
Absolutely. No, it's a very interesting question. And while Manish has talked about how it is impacting and being viewed in the industry, let me be very specific of what we have seen in HUL. Right? So in HUL, operation ecosystem consists of 4 verticals. The first vertical is plan, then source, make, and deliver. Now within planning, let me give you an example. In planning, when we were doing the demand planning, for example, for an organization which was having a 25,000 crore turnover with much simpler portfolio, it was easily done by few people working behind Excels and doing that work. Will it be possible in future when we become a 1 lakh crore company, or today when we are around 60,000 crore company? The answer is no, we cannot do it. And we also want to do that demand planning more frequently, right? So from the time of human in the loop, we got into a stage of human on the loop. and our vision is to go to human out of the loop, which means that can we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to build engines which can do this prediction of forecasting much more accurately, right? And that is what is helping us deliver higher value. Now that is what I talked about, the plan vertical. Similarly, in sourcing, which is procurement, which takes care of about 60% of our cost base, there is a lot to be done by using these IR 4.0 techniques to do cost competitive buying, to have better quality of buying done with lesser number of resources. In manufacturing, and we took a walk around in the plant, and we will talk more about it, but we have implemented something called as digital twin, which can predict the chances of having a quality defect even before the product is getting fully wrapped, right? Now, this was earlier done by doing massive amount of quality checks, resulting into a lot of rework if the quality criteria is not met, and so on and so forth. Now, even before the product is getting wrapped, we know what quality it will be delivered to the consumer. Yeah, so that is the kind of value unlock which we are seeing in each of the vertical. The last one I will talk about is our deliver workstream, which is customer operations. There was a time when our customers were happy if they were placing order today to get the delivery in the next 5 days. Today, the customers are becoming, very, very agile in terms of their expectation. They are saying, if I order today, can I have the delivery tomorrow? And that's the next day delivery model that we are working on, in which we are revamping all our distribution centers and planning to cover more than 90% of a turnover to go to the next day delivery model, right? So that's the kind of work that we are doing in plan, make, source, and deliver together to create the value for the operation ecosystem.
Manish, it's interesting. When we talk about some of these emerging technologies, we keep covering them on Business Today as well, but we just mentioned some of the top trends automatically. So you understanding what's happening across sectors when we talk about AI, machine learning, data and language learning models, digital twins being used right here at this state-of-the-art facility, and more importantly, the industrial metaverse at large. Are these solutions that you all are actively working on, especially with clients like HUL, to enhance, existing supply chains?
No, absolutely. And and the real magic comes when you bring everything together.
Absolutely.
So just building on the digital twin, Akhilesh visited one of our facility in Bangalore, and where we have worked with one of the oil and gas client in terms of to mock up if the hazardous event happens in an oil rig, right? And basically train the people through a metaverse. Because that's a contingent where nobody wants it to happen. But if it happens, right, how will you make sure that people have understood what they need to do, because they all will be in a shock of mind, right? So imagine you are able to go through a metaverse in an oil rig which has an event like that, right? And you experience that event virtually and train the people in saying that what needs to happen, right? So that's not only creating a value for HUL, it's creating a value for the society. Because what we said that when the inflation was increasing, when the price was increasing, and these are the commodities which are used by a common man on a day-to-day basis. But how we contain the cost so that the life of that so many millions of Indians is not impacted, right? And that's the power of digital twin. But digital twin overall, as I mentioned in this, the next frontier which I'm looking forward in something like this, right now we are able to do on a digital twin what-if simulations, right? So if I change this parameter, what is the impact on my cost? What is the impact on the density of the product? Okay, can we get to a scenario, what next? Which means that the machine is intelligent enough in order to, out of thousands of permutation combinations, can suggest that please do this, right? And then the machine is able to operate so that the real in nirvana of autonomous supply chain. So I think that's the next frontier in order to get there.
It's interesting because we are sat here in this particular facility in the Dapara plant, and I've been quite blown away by some of the tech on display. Now, when we're talking about modernizing manufacturing operations and coming up with this facility, some of the technologies that both of you all have been speaking about have really been deployed out here. So it's good to see things in theory, but even better to see them in practice. And I'm guessing, Akhilesh, that that's gone a long way in getting you this Lighthouse Award. In fact, 2 Lighthouse Awards for this particular facility.
Indeed. So, Aayush, first of all, let me talk about the 2 Lighthouse Awards that we have got. The first Lighthouse is called as the End-to-End Advanced IR 4.0 Award from World Economic Forum, which is given for the work being done on digitization, which is even going beyond the 4-wall boundary of the factory, which means how we are using IR 4.0 in our planning, sourcing, and customer service teams, along with the work happening in the factory. The second Lighthouse Award that we got, which was immediately after the first one, was on sustainability, which means how are we using IR 4.0 tools and techniques to do better for environment, right? Now, let me first start by giving you some results that we have got in the last 4 years, right? We measure our cost performance as a cost per ton of production. That is down by 40%. Our defect generation or the quality delivered to our consumer has improved by 30%. Our lead time for innovation and lead time for serving our customers has reduced by 50%. Our various environmental KPIs, they have improved in the range of 50 to 60%, whether it is the specific energy consumption, carbon emission, wastage reduction, etc., right? So any improvement which I talk about in this factory is in the range of 30 to 60% mark over a period of 3 years, right? Now, how is this happening? This is happening through a combination of having very sound, brilliant basics in place, the culture of experimentation, and yet using new tools and techniques to deliver that. I have already given an example of digital twin, but beyond digital twin also there is a lot of indigenization that we have done to make the specific use case work for us. For example, we developed an in-house instrument to measure a property while the product is getting, the tablet, soap tablet is getting formed, and we measure it as penetration value, which gives that value after every 10 minutes, which was measured earlier in a gap of 2 hours, right? Now, using that value, then multiple use cases got developed on top of it. In fact, the digital twin was also developed on the sheer development of that instrument which measures PV on the line itself.
We're talking about value on the table, but the fact that you've gotten such an aspirational award, this is like the Oscars of your industry, and it's a top level certification. I'm guessing these are best practices that can be exported across the world, right? To other plants within the group and in other industries as well, especially when Accenture gets involved. I think that's a very interesting space to build on. And a little bit of crystal ball gazing, Manish. I want to get into that space. Now, we've revealed a little bit of the secret sauce through the course of this interview. But now someone who understands how to make the secret sauce, sugar, spice and everything nice, is going to tell us for the next 10 years. We've spoken about reinventing and recalibrating the supply chain and how that has really yielded results here in the Dapada plant in Silvassa, and maybe this approach can be applied to 29 other plants, and then the potential is endless. But when you're talking about the next 10 years, how can we reinvent the supply chain with all the emerging technologies that you've alluded to through the course of this conversation?
Imagine with sitting in India with the Make in India initiative, right? Where we want India to be the center powerhouse for the manufacturing, and we pivot ourselves from the service industry, right? This is paramount for us of having these state-of-art facilities, because the global organizations look forward to India in order to have large-scale manufacturing setups at a scale and a cost-optimized manner. That's the need of the hour. And I'm glad we are sitting here, because that will be spreaded out and would be happening across different industries, and people who are looking at it, I would urge them to learn of what has been done in HUL in order to do that. Secondly, I think what we have, what I have alluded and Akhilesh has also alluded, in terms of unlocking value on the end-to-end supply chain, the nerve center, right? We are partnering with HUL on that. And we are working for another client where they are looking at it as a part of the network. And you will need to play on different parameters, right? There's cost efficiency, there's resiliency, there's carbon footprints, right? So can I have a target across all these three and be able to simulate in the entire network of supply chain to meet those targets, right? And that unleashing the power of the technology and digital. And I think that's the next frontier. We have seen a snippet of that in national logistics policy in India, because that's what government is trying to do as well. So I think that's the next frontier, and very happy to see again HUL leading the path on this particular case.
Very happy to see both of you all revealing the secret sauce on the BT-Accenture Leadership Dialogues. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us and for giving us such a lovely tour of this state-of-the-art facility. It's been an absolute pleasure putting this together. Do let us know what you thought of our first in this massive series that we are starting now with this particular topic in mind. A lot more coming your way. Stay tuned to the channel. Until next time, adios.